Aloha and welcome to the hearing with the Senate Committee on Economic Development and Tourism. Today is March 20, 2025. This is our 1 p.m. agenda, and we are in conference room 229. The hearing is being streamed live on YouTube. In the unlikely event that we must abruptly end this hearing due to technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene as soon as we are able to. The committee has gone through all the testimony, so encourage if you would like to add comments, you will have 1 minute to do so. This agenda has 3 bills, so we will go ahead and start off with HB 449 relating to economic development. First up is Director Wayne Inouye from Hawai'i Technology Development Corporation.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair. Thank you for giving us opportunity to testify on this bill. HCDC strongly supports HB 449. I think this gives HCDC an opportunity to really help in difficult times for manufacturers. I think we're going through a period where we have some uncertainty on the Trump administration of how they are planning to implement tariff tax. So we really need to look at some creative ways to integrate technology into our local manufacturing industries to really help get them over this hurdle, because I think we need to leverage our local talents. We need to leverage the resources that we have, but I think this bill will help us get through this and really diversify Hawaii's economy to support tech and manufacturing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Chamber of Commerce, Tonga Hopoi, on Zoom. Tonga.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, Vice Chair. Thank you for this opportunity. Apologies that we're not able to be in person. We have a board meeting right now, but I'd like to stand on our testimony. The Chamber is in full support of the measure and here for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Lauren Zerbo with Hawaii Food Industry Association, also on Zoom.
Good afternoon, Chair and Vice Chair. I'm Alexis Chapman for HFI. We'll stand on our testimony. I just want to say we have produced the Made in Hawaii Festival for over 30 years now, and we can say unequivocally that these programs work. Innovate works. There are dozens of local companies that have improved their manufacturing through these programs, and we're in strong support of this measure, especially now, as one of the previous testifiers noted. This is absolutely the time we need this kind of support. So thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Next up, Pam Tumpop from Maui Chamber of Commerce in support. Montipura, General Manager for Watanabe Floral, also in support. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none. Any questions? Okay, HTDC, please, Wayne. So Wayne, are you guys anticipating any reduction in federal funding for technology projects in Hawaii?
So currently, Chair, some of our federal funding are on pause. We've been instructed by federal agencies to hold off on some of the DEI type activities, especially in right, for us, we use a lot of women-owned. We have incarceration programs. We've been put on pause for a little bit, just until the federal government has actually kind of figured what's going to happen. So this is impacting a lot of our program. Well, not a lot, 2 of our 3 programs that we do. So, you know, the one thing that I'm more concerned about is the tariff, right? Because some of our local manufacturers do rely on importing some of our raw products overseas, and depending on what that is, right, we do need to provide some programs to help offset some of that additional cost per unit that these manufacturings are.
So how much? So based on those cuts, how many of these? How much of the programs are affected, or should I say on pause with uncertainty?
For us, for HCDC, through our Innovate Hawaii program, 2 out of the 3. So we have 1 by Department of Energy, and we have our NIST MEP program that hasn't really been affected as far as funding holding, but it does provide us a little bit of some bookends as far as guidance of how we can administer some of our programs. So, yeah.
So when you guys do selection, how do you guys select the projects? Like, do you guys do small business first, or do you categorize it and then?
So in general, for HCDC, for our Innovate Hawaii programs, right, we do something what we call voice of the customer, right? We go out into the field, we go out onto different islands, and we understand what some of the problems are facing our local manufacturers. And then we create programs. So we go to rural areas. We went to the big Hawaii Island, Maui, Molokai, and understanding some of these issues. And then we create programs around that. We don't necessarily just go out and do programs. It's really about what some of the problems are. We focus our initiative of using local talent to solve local problems, right? So we need to just keep always that in mind as what problem we're trying to solve.
So if an existing business had already gotten a grant and so like they want to upgrade,
Mhm.
I don't know, so farm purchase this
Mhm.
type of equipment and then the following year they want to upgrade it into
Yep. So they're always
sizers or whatever.
Yeah, so they're always open to apply again, but we do give priorities, right? So we do, try and look at the list of companies that have applied, and we always give priorities for first-time applicants. We also this year looked at priorities given to companies that are integrating technology and automation. So again, we do have a process. We've been prioritizing our Lahaina companies on Maui for the last couple of years to make sure that they can get back on their feet again. So there is a process that we do use to identify certain challenges. And again, this year for us, we aligned with the DBED priorities and the state priorities to look at certain critical areas and how do we leverage this money that are solving our state problem. So there is a process.
Part of that process, do you guys provide workforce and training?
Yes, we do. So part of our Innovate Hawaii program in HCDC is about workforce development. And we've been partnering with the community college and the university and our Department of Labor to do apprenticeship programs to really help understand, again, where the gaps are. Currently, one of the biggest gaps that we're doing is in fashion, right? Fashion industry has been always kind of on the back as far as integrating technology. So that's something that we've been doing. The other thing that we've been doing recently for the last couple of years is really working with our local shipyards, right? The shipyard is looking for technology as they are, and the Navy is investing in infrastructure out at Pearl Harbor. So again, the workforce to really get our local apprentice up to speed with certain technologies that are going to help the shipyard.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to HB 1006 relating to the Agribusiness Development Corporation. First up, Wendy Gady with ADC.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair. I'm Wendy Gady. I'm with the Agribusiness Development Corp, and we stand in strong support. One of the best examples that I can see is the Matsuda family on the North Shore and Kahuku farms. They've been farming since the early 1900s. They are major papaya, banana, and corn farmers. They have since added a farm cafe as well as farm-to-table events, and it has really helped diversify their income. And by supporting this with ADC, we think this would be a strong foundation for the future. I'm pretty sure that the ag parks under DOA do not allow ag tourism. And I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. Next up, DBED in support, Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, Brian Miyamoto, on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau, will stand on a written testimony in support.
Thank you. Next up, Sherry Manor, Chamber of Commerce in support. Pam Tupa, Maui Chamber of Commerce in support. Gil Revere on Zoom.
Aloha, good afternoon. I question the need for ADC to support tourism on our state ag lands. I think we should be focused more on the actual production, which was their original mission. But if it is the will to keep this moving, we have to have some guardrails. And my testimony talks about the Italian process for agritourism, where they require a minimum standard of income from the actual agricultural production. And I would hope that the committee can incorporate maybe a 25% or 50% of the revenue from the state agriculture lands should be derived from agriculture. And that's my wish and suggestion to you folks. Thanks for letting me testify.
Thank you. Next up, Kathleen Pahinui in opposition. Is there anybody else wishing to testify on the measure? See none. Questions?
Wendy. So this bill is just giving you the opportunity to do promotion of agricultural tourism, but you're not asking for any money, correct?
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, I'm Wendy Gady with ADC, and no, we are not. And I was just listening to Gil's testimony, and I do think he's right. There is an obligation for us, especially with state lands, to produce food. And I think having a high standard in terms of the amount of revenue generated from the farm or number of acres, we would be more than open to doing that. We're not asking for any cash. We're just asking to update our statute to include agritourism. And this is at the request of many of our farmers who are asking for help in learning how Kualoa Ranch did it, how Kahuku Farms did it, and what, if any, help our sister agency, the Hawaii Tourism Authority, can help in supporting these farmers.
Okay. But there's no anticipation that in the future you're gonna ask for marketing monies and help. Oh, okay. And then I recall, like, before Sharon Hurd became director of Ag, she was in their kind of marketing, I can't remember what the division was called. If we're gonna give this kind of tourism and economic development responsibility to you, should we just dissolve that division?
That's a decision that's above my pay grade, I think. She's done a wonderful job in the market development branch. I guess I would hate to say it, but I would defer to Farm Bureau on that. We're not asking for that in this bill.
Well, we're just adding and making government bigger, right? So we give you power and potential resources. Why do we have this other area in Ag that does exactly the same thing? Brian, you want to weigh in on that? Farm Bureau?
Want to?
We saw you.
Is this on video? Is this
Live around the globe.
We're transparent here.
Chair, Vice Chair, Brian Mimota here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. Could you repeat the question, Vice Chair?
So within the Department of Agriculture, I know there's kind of a marketing thing. I can't remember what it was called that Sharon Hurd was in charge of, because I dealt with her Made in Hawaii, how we're going to redefine that. So if we're going to kind of move some of these agricultural promotional responsibilities to ADC, should we just dissolve that division in Ag?
So first of all, Vice Chair, I believe you're referring to the Agriculture Development Division, one of the divisions within the Department of Agriculture, and there's a market development branch, the marketing branch within, which does, I believe, what you're talking about, the marketing for the Department of Agriculture and for agriculture in general. Your question about dissolving, I think that's a policy decision. As a representative of the Hawaii Farm Bureau of Farmers and Ranchers, we absolutely advocate for our Department of Agriculture, but at the end of the day, it's a policy decision, we believe, and we do understand trying to be more efficient on how the legislature appropriates money. So again, a policy decision. We think they do amazing work, great work, but we do understand that there is isn't this a tourism question? Agritourism. We hear what you're saying, and I think it may be worth further discussion. But we also don't want to see overlap when unnecessary. And we would like to see our Department of Agriculture, along with their partner, who is now under DBED, ADC, work cohesively to accomplish the goals that we want to support, promote, and grow agriculture, to include agritourism.
You know, when most of us think about the Department of Agriculture, it's more regulatory. Fight this virus, fight this pest, don't use this pesticides or what have you. And that marketing division was just that one little area where it was actually to promote agriculture. You look at ADC, their entire existence is to be promoting agriculture, grow more stuff, get it out to market. So should we move that division, and that's all the responsibilities, I should put that into ADC along with tourism promotion?
Again, Vice Chair, that's a policy decision, and you're right. The Department of Agriculture has a lot of regulatory functions. They have some other functions like the marketing branch, like the Agriculture Development Division, which also does the statistics, does loans, which isn't necessarily regulatory. We have the Agriculture Research Management, the land and water. So there is a high functionality of regulatory functions, whereas ADC is our development, our production agency for agriculture. So again, a policy decision, as the executive director of ADC says, above her pay grade, and her pay grade is above my pay grade. So I'm not really sure if I'm qualified to, but we do hear what you're saying, and we have heard discussions along those lines of trying to consolidate certain functions within certain agencies for more efficiency. And at the Farm Bill, we absolutely want to see efficiency. We want to see our taxpayer dollars being spent the best way they can so that we can grow our agricultural sector.
Okay, so let me rephrase the question. If you were me, would you consolidate and get rid of this division in ag and move it over to ADC?
If I were
If you were the
You-
policymaker, not the mumbo jumbo of it's above my pay grade, I can touch this, but you know better than most of us in this room about how agriculture can be more efficient, more functional. We seem to have like this one little hanging area, marketing division or whatever in ag. And maybe we should just move that over here, that ag can be purely more regulatory, that ADC can be clearly to promote the growth of agriculture.
That's a difficult question, Senator, for me to answer in this format and forum. May I get back to you, Senator?
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brian, stop. So Brian, you know, when ADC was created, ADC was meant to do bigger tracts of land, for growing, crop. What is the impacts that have occurred while tourism and agritourism, has it disrupted more, adjacent farms that just want to do agriculture?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, when ADC was formed, I believe back in the 90s, it was to transition from plantation, sugar and pine to more diversified agriculture. And as you heard the executive director say, it was to grow food, we believe food, feed, fiber, fuel, and floriculture, to grow agriculture. Not every farm or ranch would like to do, or agriculture business would like to do agritourism. I couldn't sit here and say that there aren't impacts to surrounding farms and businesses that don't engage in agriculture tourism. And so, you know, being selective and prescriptive on who does it, I think is a conversation always we need to have, especially as executive director said, for our public lands. But in that, agriculture tourism or ag tourism helps support, we look at it as a value added operation for agriculture. It helps support income streams and possibly profitability for our farmers and ranchers. So although we are supportive of it, we do understand that we don't want negative impacts. Again, agriculture land should support the agriculture production. We've looked at agritourism as something we support as accessory, but again, as accessory to the primary operation of agricultural food, feed, fiber, fuel, or floriculture production. So there can be impacts, and I believe that's why we support the county's zoning authority over agriculture tourism. They know better what the differences in their county, what they'd like to see from a zoning perspective. We believe that's where the authority lies also for the enforcement. It is an enforcement issue. So we do see some abuses, but we also see successes like Ali'ikula Lavender, Greenwell Coffee Farms, and many coffee farms that do coffee farm tours, but also education and outreach. Hawaiian Vanilla Company here on Oahu, you heard Kuku Farms, Ku'uloa
So
Ranch.
Brian, if we pursue the agritourism side of this, how much would you say if I had 100 acres of land should be under production? And then how much should be used for agritourism? If we went on a percentage.
Our position has always been a high percentage of the land should be for agriculture production. Again, different
Do you have a
products
percentage in mind?
that should be in ag production. At the county level, I think we landed on 51% of the arable or farmable land, because not all the lands on a particular parcel is farmable. You may have gullies,
If I had
hillsides,
100
roads.
acres of all farmable land, no gullies, no mountains, no trees, what percentage would you
Quite
use?
frankly, Chair, 51% is probably the floor. I mean, if you can at least have 51% of your lands in agricultural production that is farmable, then that may be of concern again, and these are public lands, so they should be a high percentage of ag production. And as you heard the ADC say, right, they are willing to adopt or consider higher standards than private lands.
So wouldn't you think that if I produced more, as we talk about sustaining and then lessening the imports from outside, that it should be higher of a production versus, because the tourism part of it, I would think if we value adding, we usually get 10 times plus, right? So in order for me to value add, I would need more land under production so that I can value add the other percentage, in this case, whether or not I've included technology like through HTDC. Kind of like, and I just gonna say like Larry Jeff, which he doesn't do value add. He just continues to grow, and he's been a big landowner, farmer with ADC, and also a member of the Farm Bureau.
Yes. So yes, again, we view agritourism as a value add, as a mechanism to increase farm revenue or revenue to the farm business or ranch business, but we also view it as a privilege. Again, your primary activity should be agriculture. So yes, I mean, again, higher standards, agriculture production should be the primary. But when we start talking about percentage of income, so you use, if you say the farm is making $100,000 a year off the ag production, they start incorporating agritourism. And so now agritourism, they make $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. At some point, say they're making $200,000 off of their agritourism operation, but they're still having the same output from their farm production. They shouldn't be penalized. And so again, it's I think a deeper conversation, and that's why at the city and county for the land use ordinance update, Bill 10, which ultimately became Bill 64, it took almost 3 years, and there's still some cleanup that we believe needs to happen. We want to support ag tourism and some of these accessory activities, but we also want to make sure, as former Senator Rivera said, there are guardrails in there, and there are requirements in there to ensure that there is the agricultural production that we want. That is, again, the primary that should be on those ag lands.
Thank you, Brian. Wendy? So Wendy, how many farms are currently engaged in agritourism?
Good afternoon, Chair and Vice Chair. I'm Wendy Gady with ADC. Are you referring to farmers or tenants on our land?
Yeah, on your land.
0.
What potential do you see the expansion of agritourism in this state?
On public land as well as private?
Just yours.
Just on ours? Are you asking about like a number in terms of number of farmers, or are you asking about acres?
Talking about farmers.
I would say for our farms, less than 20. Because to your point, some people, you think about Larry Jeffs, he is the largest banana grower in the United States. And that's one of the things that, I personally believe that everybody should be able to farm the way they want. I don't want to go to your farm and tell you what to do. You don't want to come to my farm and tell me what to do. And if he doesn't want to do ag tourism, that's fine. He shouldn't have to do that. But if you are growing bananas and you want to do dried bananas and trail mix, and you want to sell that, and that is what sustains your farm. I've listened to John Morgan for years talk about his ag tourism supports his business, and it also provides 7 days a week fresh food in a food desert. And he does that for his community as well. I don't oppose having some guardrails. I think that's really important, and I acknowledge and I believe in our statute that we were here for local food production. But we also know about 40% of that production just gets plowed under because it's got a dent. It doesn't have the 4 nodules on the bottom of the bell pepper, so the retailers don't want it. So they want to be able to, you know, chop it up, but at the same time, shouldn't the farmer be able to sell that to the consumer?
Well, by all means, and I would think that they would kind of utilize some of the hubs or innovation centers because most of us know that the farms do not have the potential to move into that direction because under ADC, you guys were meant to grow and to produce on your tracts of land. So I'm going to ask you the same question that Senator Wakai asked Brian Miyamoto. Do you believe that the marketing division should be transferred over into ADC?
Oh, Chair, this chair just got really hot all of a sudden.
It's going to get hotter.
I think that it is a policy decision, and I and ADC are not the policy makers. We carry things out. So I would defer back to you and say, whatever you think is in the best interest of the state, we will carry that out, whatever that is. But I do agree that the Department of Ag has done a wonderful job. They have done some amazing work with the farmers in the market development branch.
So that's my concern. It's almost as if we lost the entire marketing branch, which is why we come back to this bill and why agritourism is in this bill, is what is it gonna take for the Department of Ag to diversify it to the point of what you're asking in the bill for agritourism?
I don't think I can speak on behalf of the Department of Ag or what they should be doing. I just look at the fact that we did not come up with this on our own. We have tenants that are saying, you know, this isn't in your statute, which you consider, because I want to know how other people are successful. I don't need to make the same mistakes everybody else is making. We would like to have some guidance. We'd like to have some support. Maybe we would like to have a juice bar, because all we're doing is fruit production. You don't need the prettiest fruit to be doing a juice bar. Perhaps we'd like to do that. So
but wouldn't we send in for the Department of Ag to handle that portion of it? Well, ADC lands was meant, like, again, I would say, to produce on a larger scale, which is why your biggest tenant is Larry Jeff. And that was the reason for those tracts of land. So the lands that you have, what are the parcels cut up for, or sizes? You know, what are the sizes of your ADC lands?
we have parcels on Oahu that are as small as 5 acres. We have some that are well beyond 500 acres. It's just based on the TMK. So it's kind of the big gamut. I think people in the past have thought we only work with large farmers, and they don't realize that we have a lot of small disadvantaged farmers. We just don't trot them out in front of everybody all the time, and we're trying to support them as well. And I'm very excited to share with you that at the board meeting for ADC this morning, the board chose to award 23 new licenses to farmers. So that means on Oahu, our inventory is going to go from, you know, maybe 10 to 12% to almost nothing. And the hardest thing in the world is to tell a farmer that you are an awesome farmer. We just don't have enough land to give you. That is heartbreaking.
So if you guys do push into agritourism, who should enforce the fact that those lands, say, would it be 50%, 55%, 75% is under production, while the other 25 is within the law to be doing tourism?
Well, one of the things that the board chose to do, which I think is brilliant, is with the newest round of licensees, there's a requirement for an annual report. Because every year ADC gives an annual report to the ledge. And moving forward, it would be really wonderful if we could quantify on all our lands, how many full-time jobs, how many part-time jobs, what's the amount of poundage of food production coming off. I don't think that's unfair to ask the individuals that are on state land to produce a report that we can fold into ours that we can share. And we have very, very active property managers. We don't wait at the mailbox for the checks to roll in. They're out there every day. We got a phone call earlier this week. Somebody said, I think that somebody's driving onto the road from your lands and leaving a mess. We went out, took pictures. It was not our farms, but we went out immediately. We're very, very active in managing our lands.
So I guess you would consider the annual report to be site visits to assess exactly what your tenant is doing. and then to report back that each tenant is within standards. And if not, I'm assuming that there's some kind of warning or consequence, making sure that production is underway versus it overmounting tourism.
So that's one of the unique abilities of ADC is we have the ability to take land back. And if you're not managing it and you don't have a conservation plan in place and you're grading and grubbing, you're going to be in violation and you'll be put on a performance improvement program. So either you're going to be compliant or you're going to basically give the land back because we have a lot of good farmers that are waiting for land.
Sounds good. Thank you. I'll send it to Wakai.
Yeah, I have great respect for your vision, your collaborative spirit. So let me rephrase a question. If the legislature were to give you responsibility for marketing agriculture, would you accept it or would you be opposed to that?
We would accept it
Okay. Yeah,
at your decision. We're not making that policy call, but we would carry it out to the best of our ability.
so in my many discussions with the marketing branch of the Department of Agriculture, it was always about stonewalling, not doing anything different. I mean, it took me 5 years to get the Department of Agriculture to go move their paper app onto a digital format. I've been trying for years to redo Made in Hawaii, but they keep a tight grip on it and don't want to look at anything outside of what comes out of the ground as Made in Hawaii. So I find that division is very resistant to change and doing anything that's innovative. And I find you to be the complete opposite of that. So I think it'd be actually be in good hands if we gave that responsibility to you.
Thank you for the compliment, but I think the compliment belongs to the board. And the fact that we have a complete board that is active, that's on fire about our statute, holds my feet to the fire to deliver on the statute. I think really the compliment belongs to the board that has the vision to really push things forward.
Very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up, HB 1467 relating to housing resiliency. First up, Luke Myers on Zoom with Hawaii Governor Recovery and Resiliency.
Chair, Vice Chair, good afternoon. Luke Myers, Branch Chief Recovery and Resiliency Unit. We sent our testimony offering comments. I just would like to say that very passionate about this opportunity here in the state. I know we have a number of competing priorities, but as we see our larger hazard risk continue with aging infrastructure, specifically on the single-family residential side, the IBHS and fortified standards for homes, I think could help a number of areas in the community, not only at the parcel level for property owners, but on the larger insurance side. I think this investment, along the lines with the priorities that are out there between the Ledge and the Gov should be supported. That's all for any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, James Barros, Hawaii Emergency Management Agency on Zoom.
Aloha, Don Avial, on behalf of Administrator Barros, he's on in a conference in DC. We just again, it's Haima, Executive Officer. We are in full support. We stand on our written testimony, but we also wanted to highlight the fact that for each dollar we spend on some of these mitigation measures, including the retrofitting residential properties, will help save the state $13. So for whichever agency takes over the retrofit program, it would be best for them to realize that savings, as well as the insurance costs and liabilities that are forthcoming, especially with the flood insurance program being in flux right now at FEMA. So just wanted to highlight those things, and available for any questions, but thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Gwen Yamamoto Lau. Thank you. Next up, Dean Minakami for Hawaii Housing Funds. Thank you. Next up, Jeff Mikulina, Hawaii Climate Advisory Team. Thank you. Lindsay Garcia, testifying for Hawaii Realtors in support. Jeff Mikulina, testifying Hawaii Executive Collaborative Climate Hawaii in support. And then Dr. Keone Dudley on Zoom.
Hear me? There we go.
Yes,
Madam Chair and Vice Chair, I'm Dr. Keone Dudley. I'd brought the experts together and created the 1-hour video, The New Hurricane Threat for Hawaii. I support this bill, but I also want to propose changes. The bill, as it reads, would strengthen single-family houses only. It states that condominiums will not be funded. This needs to be changed. We have windows and glass doors now that can withstand 200-mile-an-hour plus winds, and condos can be fortified far more cheaply than houses, and most can be far safer than houses. There are other things I want to ask you to put into the bill. The bill strengthens houses already built. We need to also say that new houses need to be built to withstand strong hurricanes, and all new houses need to have safe rooms with attached bathrooms that can withstand 200-mile-an-hour winds. The builder, D.R. Horton, says these only cost $5,000 to $7,000. We also have no hurricane shelters that can withstand a Category 3, 4, or 5 hurricane. There's nowhere for anyone to go, nowhere for you to go. We need this bill to also get funds for fortifying current hurricane.
thank you,
for
Mr.
fortified-
Dudley. Your time is up, and we have your testimony in front of us as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Perfect timing. Lindsay, you're up. On the realtors.
Realtor stands on our testimony. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to testify? Seeing none, members, any questions for the testifiers? And we are on HB 1467. Senator Wakai.
Go ahead. I'm looking at the bill and there's no dollar figure for appropriations. I looked at all the committee reports and there's never been a mention of how much money we're going to put in here. What are your expectations on the dollar for the things?
Yeah, so I would say it's going to take a lot of money, but maybe starting with $10 million to get started. There are about 60% on Oahu, just Oahu, and the neighbor islands are similar that aren't, and the roofs are not attached to the rest of the house. So there's a lot of dwellings that are at risk.
It seems like a very, very expensive project or program to start implementing. I mean, I can't imagine it's going to be $10 million. It's going to be well north of that. I mean, for the homeowner, by doing your own retrofit on your own dime, there's a savings on the insurance side, right? So there's already pressures for the homeowner to take their own safety and the protection of their property in their own hands. Why does the state need to do that?
So, for those who can, so Alabama found that once they started their Fortify program, I can't off the top of my head remember the numbers, but there were far more homeowners who actually did their own because it was the education part of that because they could afford it. This program has income qualifications, so it's not for every homeowner, it's for those who can least afford it. And it helps take care of the upfront costs.
Okay. That's what we started out saying when we did initially created GEMS way back when, and all of a sudden GEMS started like in that entire solar program started burning a $72 million hole into our annual budget. At one time, it's like $115 million in tax credits went to people, kind of with the same approach of you can't afford it, so the government's going to come in there and help you put solar on your roof. And this, I just see is going down that same path of, okay, we're going to start off by like, you cannot afford to put clips or whatever it is with shatterproof windows on there. And this thing's just going to balloon to be very, very expensive.
Well, as Professor Dudley mentioned, for every dollar spent, the state will save $13. If you can imagine, after Lahaina, it was difficult housing people, the families that could not live in their homes were destroyed. In the case of a hurricane, without a roof and with the water damage following that, we would need to at least temporarily house these families too.
Senator Kim.
Talks about income limits. What are we talking about?
What less than 140%. So it's the low to moderate area median income per HUD. If needed, and if by the will of the legislature, it could be reduced to lower the income levels.
Yeah, but how many of the lower income levels actually own homes?
Yeah, so that's where the tension is, right? So even with housing per se, right, it's that 80 to 140 that is that gap that doesn't get any subsidies, and these are the working poor that are struggling right now.
Yeah, so if all of them in that bracket decide that they need this, how much money is that gonna be?
So that I don't have.
But then you should, because if you come in here with that, we should know, because
We can
exactly
get,
what-
we can get an
yeah,
estimate.
exactly what Senator LaCly said, we can't be everything to everybody. So is it just the roofs that's gonna need repair? What else is gonna be repaired? And then, we have people that have maybe higher incomes, but they still can't afford to, if there's a disaster, to put a roof on because they have other things going on, right? Other debts that you're not aware of. So it's like we're asking the general public to fund this, and we don't know to what degree that we're funding it.
Yeah. I mean, we can make an estimate. The challenge is we don't know exactly what people's income levels are, right? In that, but I'll ask Dr. Tian if he has an estimate of the number of households in that threshold. Then the second filter would be how many of those homes were built before 1994, right? Because that's when hurricane clips became mandated, right? So we can try and get that figure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? So Gwen, and I guess in regards to disaster, I would think the governor, which is why they have an emergency fund. We saw what that costs. So going forward, is this the route we're looking at going down? Because I think the challenge has always been, how do you guys go about, prioritizing who we do first, irregardless of income?
My guess it would be, speaking for Dean, my guess it would be first come, first serve, right? I'm not sure if they're eligible. The emergency fund, I understand, is after the disaster, right? So that's to help with what we're trying to do. It's like an HMO plan for medical insurance, right? You're trying to prevent something worse that can happen and do it ahead of time, because once you have cancer, it's going to cost a lot more, right? Once the disaster happens, it's going to cost a lot more. So it's kind of a preventative measure.
So are you saying, when you plan something, I would think, because the question has always been the cost of living, right? When you look at today, I think I struggle with not the cost of living, but the cost of managing. And what is a priority of what I need and what I want. So at some point, if you're going to build a 3-bedroom house that you cannot afford in a planning process, should the state step in and, now because the planning, which is, I'm going to say one public school, and I would think that, at some point, the taxpayers that are going to be paying are not, happy about us doing prevention for everybody, and yet being left out of the mix as a blue-collar working individual, and then figuring out the prioritization.
Right. So actually, this is not for new buildings, right? This is for older dwellings that were built before 1994, before the code changed, requiring these hurricane clips to attach the roof to the rest of the house. So it really is for the older homes that were built a long time ago. My guess they're probably kupuna, and again, the Alabama model found that once they started helping with this program, the visibility and education caused more people to actually do their own homes who could afford it. So Alabama helped the ones who couldn't.
So I think the Climate Resiliency has a book about that and planning and, what you should buy to retrofit. I find it hard that we're at that level of now we're buying everything to retrofit homes that, really needs planning. within individual. Okay, no, this, thank you.
All right.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I'm gonna recess for decision making. Okay, we are decision making on HB 449, HD 1 relating to economic development. We are gonna make amendments. We're gonna pass it in SD 1 by adding the following clause to section 2. The Hawaii Technology Development Corporation shall submit an annual report to the legislature no later than 20 days prior to the convening of each regular session, detailing 1, the number and types of businesses assisted through the program, 2, the amount of funding allocated per business, 3, measurable economic impacts, including jobs created, revenue increases, and expansion of local manufacturing, 4, any challenges encountered in implementing the program, and 5, recommendations for future funding adjustments. Also prioritize small and medium-sized manufacturers by further modifying Section 2 to include funding shall be prioritized for businesses with fewer than 100 employees with the primary focus on local product development, advancing manufacturing and workforce training, and ensure funds are used for manufacturing and no other purposes by adding the following clause to Section 2. Funds appropriated under this act shall be used exclusively for 1, technology upgrades and equipment, acquisition for local manufacturers, 2, workforce training and upskilling programs, 3, marketing and promotion of Hawaii-made products, and 4, research and development for new or improved manufacturing techniques. Any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
I vote yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Awa.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Next, HB 1006 relating to Agribusiness Development Corporation. We are gonna pass with an SD 1, amending the definition of agricultural tourism to specify that agricultural tourism activity shall be secondary to the principal agricultural use of which shall constitute at least 75% of the total farming activity, and B, prohibit agricultural tourism activities from interfering with farm operations of adjacent or surrounding farms. 2, clarifying the definition of enterprise to specify that not more than 25% of the total farming operation, and B, require at least 75% of the total farming operation to be dedicated to active crop production or livestock farming. In the committee report, we will reflect Agriculture Development Division to transfer to ADC. Any discussion?
Wait, that's in the report or is that an amendment?
I mean, in the amendment to have Agriculture Development Division to transfer to ADC. Any discussion? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote, Chair goes aye.
I vote with reservations. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Awa.
No.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, HB 1467 relating to housing resiliency. While we have, I believe we have a lot of challenges working on this. I'm gonna move to defer this bill indefinitely. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.